In here, somewhere, is an absolutely massive turtle. In fact, there's two of them. I don't know where he is. This is always really nerve-wracking. Good morning. We've got an unbelievable day planned for you guys, but first, allow me to update you on little Rockalina, who has spent 1 week in her brand new naturalistic enclosure. She was taking a bath, but the water is now filthy because she's been messing around in it. So one of the things I have to do is change that, but look at her. Look at the leaps and bounds that this incredible animal has been making. Her skin looks awesome, which is the thing that I really wanted to check on, make sure that there's no open sores or anything, but she's been acting like a box turtle, and that's what we've wanted her to do all along because she hasn't gotten to do that since 1977. So I need to change your water dish. A lot of people out there still rooting for you, and I'm just thrilled that I keep being able to give you guys such positive updates on her. Pretty soon, not quite yet because it's still a little too chilly out there, we're going to be giving her the chance to experience sunlight for the first time since 1977 as we get her outside and let her really experience what a box turtle would be experiencing. And that's going to be super important for her to get that outdoor time, especially during the warm months. But for now, this is such a nice introduction to what would be happening outdoors in a naturalistic pen. This is a little bit more of a controlled environment, which is what an animal like this that has gone through so much actually needs. And she's just doing everything that we have wanted to see her do, including eating all the right food items. So no more cat food. There's a turtle that we rescued 2.5 years ago who happens to be one of the planet's largest freshwater turtle species, and he also just happens to have a bite force of more than 1,000 PSIs. You guys are coming out there with me because we have to fish him out of a pond. All right, we're about ready here. Let's see if I can find him.
Remember that time I scared you?
Yep, I remember that time you scared me.
There he is. Whoa. I'm just kidding. No, he's not.
I'm just kidding. No, he's not.
Definitely remember that time. Forgot how deep I made this. Let me get my pet stump out first. I don't know where he is. This is always really nerve-wracking. This species isn't typically aggressive underwater, but if they decide to be, they're not very forgiving. Oh, that's him right there. Okay, there he is. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know who this is and you're new to the channel, this is Chief Brody, the adult male alligator snapping turtle, one of our absolute favorite animals here, and he has spent the winter in this pond. And this morning, I brought the sub pump out here and started draining it because it is time for me to give him an annual health assessment. Wow, because he's been hibernating or brumating in the bottom of this pond since early November. So it has been months since I have seen this remarkable animal. So I'm gonna haul him out, get him onto the land area. We're gonna take a close look at him. Oh boy, there he is. Okay. What's up, buddy? Look at that mouth. So, you heard me say just before, this species typically is not aggressive underwater. When they're out of water, they're exposed. They feel threatened, so they gape their mouths as a warning to let you know, hey, you get anything in my way, I'm gonna crush it. And this animal absolutely can crush bone. Again, you're talking a bite force over 1,000 PSIs. That's nuts. And Brody, although he's big, he is far from the biggest example of alligator snapping turtles. Brody happens to be the Apalachicola alligator snapping turtle, and there are 3 known types of alligator snapping turtle. You've got the Western, the Suwannee, and you've also got the Apalachicola. It takes a very trained eye to be able to see the differences, and we have gone over that in some videos in the past, but Brody is a wonderful quintessential example of a dominant male having that yellow head right there. He's got some algae on top of him, but he is without a doubt a very impressive dominant male. And in the wild, he would absolutely not hesitate to combat another male in his way. He's also older. So you might be wondering, how did we get Brody? Brody came to us 2.5 years ago in November of 2022. He was found states out of range. Apalachicola is found in northern Florida. This animal was found several states over wandering. He didn't belong there. Animals like that cannot just simply be released because you don't know where they've been. So they could be cross-contaminating a wild population if you were to just go let them go, because if they had been around another turtle and contracted something, that could be detrimental to a sensitive wild population. He also may not be compatible with a given population. And there's a number of other reasons. So this animal was destined for a life in captive management, but he was extremely emaciated. Alligator snapping turtles are known for having that amazing mastiff or pit bull head with strong head muscles. His head muscles were completely deflated. Remember, the alligator snapping turtle is a fully aquatic species. They almost never leave the water. Really, it's just the females that do to go nest once a year. But males like this big guy, Brody here, they spend their lives in the water, hunting up and down river systems, combating other males, and of course, breeding with females. So once we took Brody in, we knew that we had our work cut out for us, but that's what we do here. So we started with all those vet visits, the x-rays, the blood work. We checked him for parasites, all kinds of things. And lucky for him, he also checked out. There was nothing really detrimental to his health that would suggest that he was going to go downhill and die. So we just started with the TLC. We kept him indoors in a tub for a pretty long time so that, again, he could be in that very controlled, easily observable environment. And we fed him all of the things he was supposed to be getting because this was a case of malnourishment. So things like clams were what was going to help to wear down his plates inside his mouth that were starting to become overgrown, and would also help rebuild those head muscles that he had lost. But contrary to popular belief, alligator snapping turtles are not just these swamp monsters that wait for something to come close to the water's edge and then they pull it in and eat it like something like a crocodile would do. These animals actually eat more things like crustaceans, mollusks, and fish. They will help themselves to something dead that's in the water, and they also prefer to eat a lot of other turtles. So they will eat things like musk turtles. The loggerhead musk turtle is always on the menu for alligator snapping turtles pretty much. But bigger turtles, they tend to leave alone. Brody really has come a long way. He's so strong now, and at first he couldn't even really lift his head up. He just kind of kept it down. But once he started getting nutrition in him, he started building that muscle, and even though he was in a tub for a long time so we could keep a close eye on him, he started gaining traction and improving fairly quickly. And then we ended up getting him outside. Now, he did spend his first season here in our aquascape ecosystem, but we ran into problems there. One was the amount of leeches that were in the water. Now, leeches are normal when it comes to turtles, and normally they don't bother them. But that's usually for the species that can bask, because they can climb out onto a rock or a log, completely dry out, and that either kills the leeches or the leeches fall off. When it comes to the alligator snapping turtle, this animal is in the water all the time, so they don't really get relief from those leeches. The other issue with the aquascape ecosystem was that it was too shallow for him. This is a big turtle that needs deep water, because even though it's a species that comes from the southeast and even out to Texas, it's an animal that can't take too much heat. So the deep water helps relieve them of that and keep them at a safe temperature. This new pond that he's in here that was originally designed several years ago offers him the right depth so he can get away from the heat. And clearly, after spending a good amount of time, including an entire winter in it, he looks awesome. Another reason this pond was beneficial for him is he is now leech free, whereas back when the aquascape, he had them all tucked in here. He even had some of them inside his mouth, and he couldn't get any relief from that. So every March, we like to pull him out of what he's in because the temperature is mild. Because you can see right now, we're in the beating sun. If this was the summer, this could be a problem for him because it gets so hot here. A lot of people don't realize that about New Jersey. We get subtropical summers, and the sun is intense in this particular backyard. So this is a good time of year to do it. Plus, you know, it's the end of the winter and you want to see how your animals fared because you don't like to disturb them during the winter. And just before he was cruising around here, I think now he's starting to settle a bit, but yeah, he is, man, good job, Brody. But like I said, there's two of them in that pond. I gotta go find the other one. So the next turtle is smaller, but has a bigger attitude. I think I see the top of her head, which is what you want to see, because there's only one safe way to pick up an alligator snapping turtle, and it's basically what you just saw me do. You're gonna see me do it again here. Yeah, it's her. Okay. There we are. Hello. This is Ellen. Ellen is Chief Brody's girlfriend. Considerably smaller, which is normal because the male alligator snapping turtle is the much larger of the two sexes when it comes to this species. But the females tend to have a bit of a more attitude. Let's pull her out over there and see how she looks. Okay, there we go. All right, Ellen. So this animal, although smaller, no less threatening when it comes to that bite, and she's doing the same thing Brody did. She's gaping the mouth because she feels threatened. She has no idea that I'm just trying to see if she's okay. Just like the male, she's got that crushing bite, but females tend to be a bit more spicy than the males are, and in fact, Ellen has chased me on land before. It's true. Ellen is a young female, but she is an egg layer. She might get a little bit bigger, but she also could stay around this size. Not all alligator snapping turtles are massive. And what I was trying to point out before about holding them is there's only one safe way to handle the alligator snapping turtle, which will protect both the turtle and yourself. You have to grab them from the marginal scutes right behind the head, and then you also grab them at the rear marginal scutes and lift them like this away from yourself. Now the reason you do that is because the alligator snapping turtle may have a crushing bite, but it does not have a long neck that it can swing sideways, upwards, or backwards. And that contrasts what we normally see with the common snapping turtle. Nonetheless, you never want to try to support a big snapping turtle from underneath and hold it like that, because if the animal thrashes, you will drop it, it will get injured, or it's going to nail you hard and quick, and you're not even going to realize what happened. So when it comes to the alligator snapper, that's how you pick them up. Don't attempt any other way. When it comes to hatchlings or juveniles, they're a little bit safer to hold with one hand, but you still want to hold them at the back because although they have a short neck, if you get your fingers in the way, even a little one is going to tag you and it's going to hurt bad. The back claws are also one other reason why you don't want to go trying to support them from underneath, because once they start thrashing, when they're really warmed up and revved up for the season, they will cut right through you. And let me tell you from personal experience, as a herpetologist in the field with wild common snapping turtles, they will cut you wide open with those claws, no joke. And here we are, Ellen and Brody, two mature animals, and you could really see the difference in the sizes. Not just with the shell, but also the head. The male just has an absolutely megacephalic, enormous head, whereas the female also has those traits, but on a much smaller scale. And that's one of the ways that you can sex them appropriately just by looking at them from above. And again, that's got to be with mature animals. There's other ways to do it, but we're not going to stress these guys out, flip them over and show you. They've been through enough for today. Right now, we're just trying to make sure that they are healthy, and they are. Ellen was not a rescue situation. She was surrendered to us by a friend. Brody, absolutely major rescue situation, but here we are 2.5 years later, and he is just an absolute healthy beast. So now, I got some work to do on this pond. I'm not gonna clean it out completely because the biology at the bottom of this pond, even though it might look like sludge to you guys, is very beneficial to the health of the pond and the health of the turtles. There's a ton of invertebrates in there. I'm sure you've noticed a lot of the snails around. There's also a ton of fish, and the aquatic vegetation is just starting to come up for the season. So we don't want to disturb that stuff. We just want to give them a nice refresher with some new water for the season, and then nature takes care of the rest. Okay, just picked up a new surrender. And this is a yearling leopard tortoise. Leopard tortoise is the 4th largest tortoise species in the world. 4th. The leopard tortoise is a famous tortoise species and is known to be the world's 4th largest tortoise species. And that's the reason why this animal needed a new home. It's only a year old and it's already pushing about 5 inches, but these guys and girls get huge. They can surpass 20 or 25 inches in shell length, and those of you that have been following us may have come to know our females, Tembo and Savannah, who are absolutely huge adult female leopard tortoises. Even the males of this species do get very big. So, you know what happens is people take these in as pets, and then they realize that they're getting too big too fast. So that's where it's important to, there's nothing wrong, there's absolutely nothing wrong with having a tortoise, but you got to do your research early on to figure out what the best species for you would be. And more often than not, it's those Mediterranean species like the Hermann's tortoises. Those animals tend to end up in rescue situations or surrender situations way less than something like a leopard tortoise or a sulcata tortoise would. Even redfoot tortoises end up in rescue situations far more than a Hermann's would. So this little guy's got some pyramiding going on already. You can see he's very lumpy. That tends to come from being in an overly dry environment. Sometimes it's also due to improper diet, but this tortoise actually has been being fed the right things, so it's more of a dryness thing. We can correct this to some extent because the tortoise is so young. So while these particular parts of the shell will always be slightly raised, by raising this tortoise from here on out properly, the rest of the shell will smooth out and only the very center of each carapace scoot, carapace is the top shell, will be raised. The rest of it will be smooth. So a little TLC is gonna need to go into it, but overall the animal's strong. It has a pretty solid shell, so I'm not really worried about it. It seems to be in good shape, but what a difference to what this animal will eventually be. Right now, definitely not hard to maintain this animal, but as it gets larger, it's going to become a challenge for most people. And if you don't have outdoor space and ample indoor space for the winter months, if you live in an area like New Jersey, leopard tortoise is absolutely going to be a big challenge. It's going to run up your electric bill and everything else. Whereas there are species like Hermann's tortoises, particularly the Western Hermann's, that's going to be fully grown at this size, so you don't need to worry about anything afterwards. But very cool, breath of fresh air when you get a rescue or a surrender that's not in terrible shape. So we're gonna get him home. We're gonna get him into a more ideal situation so that he can grow smoothly and more naturally, and eventually get him outside into the sun now that spring is here.